You're live.
I'm live. Okay. So I'm sure you guys all tuned in to see a tale about a giant gelatinous blob that devours everything, which is normally just a video of me in the kitchen when I'm drunk. However, we're going to give you something with a little bit more cinematic deliciousness. And we're bringing you 1988 The Blob, which was, of course, a remake of the 1950s The Blob. Joining me today are waiting for the camera to switch. Yeah, no, okay.
I was gonna switch it while you went
Mr.
live.
Sir
Hello.
and the Anthony.
Hi everybody. I'm Superman. Superman Anthony.
Anthony.
What's up?
So this is, of course, a remake of a 1950s classic. I think like when you talk about classic horror, other than the usual Universal monsters, the Blob is always in there.
How to Lose Your Hardcore Horror Audience, Have an Office, and Stranger Things Coffee Cup.
I got a Godzilla hat.
I mean, it's better than I just got like blue coffee mug, but
Blue Steel.
Blue Steel. Anyways, I just did that's the wrong camera, I'm sure.
Yes, you did.
So, of course, this movie is about a small town in wherever America, where a meteor crashes to the thing, as we've seen in numerous movies. Like the Creep Show with Stephen King. Stephen King's great cameo in that one as the guy that touched. Because there's always some weird old guy in the woods, not me, that is like, I need to poke this thing with a stick. Because I feel like it happened in this. It happened
Better
in
than
Creep
with
Show.
your finger.
It happened in Slither. Didn't it? In Slither?
There's branches around. It just makes sense.
Everyone's like, I'm going to poke this with a stick. There's always an old guy that's just like,
what would you poke it with?
I'm not going to poke it. I'm not going to. I mean, I would poke it with a stick. Yeah, that's
pop your blue pill and poke it or what?
I would. It's like, I'm going to bang it. I'm going to have sex with this thing while it's still hot.
I haven't felt sensation like this since 1846 when I met Martha Washington's.
Today's Horror Dork is sponsored by Blue Chew.
Blue Chew.
Like, I mean, the meteor didn't say no.
The Blob.
Yeah. Also, the meteor didn't say no, which then leads into the fact that as someone that grew up in the 80s.
Would you bang the stuff?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I got to imagine
It's so
all
weird.
the horror creatures. That's
that
the
movie
easiest one to do.
It's crazy.
That is.
They just like find this crap coming out of the ground. And the first thing the guy does is
fluff.
tastes it.
I mean,
it's white.
I'm sorry that I'm not.
And Golden just can't get enough.
Growing up in the 80s, you don't realize until you rewatch some of the things how prevalent rape was in all the cinema. Like if it's a teenage comedy, rape. And like this is no different either. The guy had a rape trunk.
He had like saying it's a rape trunk is a little strong.
Right.
He had like a party trunk with like it had like a basketball hoop and stuff in it. He had like every liquor you could ask for.
A lot of fake rings.
Yeah.
Not fake rings, but he just had a ton of them because earlier he made sure to go.
I gave you to get you guys on the podcast. Now that is a rape trunk.
That was burlap sacks.
It's like Dean Winchester's trunk, but with like for getting fucked up.
It says right before the thing, he's like, I gave you my ring. That makes you my girl. So you pretty much have to put out.
I mean, this guy
was
is
the
shown as being like a creep from the beginning.
Oh yeah. Like they don't make him out to be like the fucking president of the senior president.
He has an awesome death as well. Everybody has incredible awesome deaths in this movie.
They don't have justified too.
This character was actually based off of someone that the director knew in real life. Well, not like the scene with the car, but the scene in
his friend that got killed by an outer space.
The scene in the drugstore. Yeah, that really happened. Oh, yeah. And that friend became the basis for this character. And the director said because of that, this character became a little bit more lovable than he should have been.
Also, the girl that he has in his car is from Under Siege. So going back to the talk we had of Steven Seagal before.
So this brings up what I wanted. I said there was something I wanted to bring up on the podcast.
How long she was in that cake and Under Siege?
Yes, exactly that.
Just utter disappointment on Mr. Sir's face.
That would never work with me because I would 100% start eating the cake from the inside because I'd be like, I'm a little peckish.
Golden's reference points are so funny sometimes. there's a guy in this movie. He's like, you know who that guy was? He was the hot dog guy.
The hot dog guy from The Happening.
I was like, I don't remember anybody other than John Leguizamo, Zoe Deschanel, and Mark Wahlberg in that movie.
How do you not remember the scene where they're at the nursery and they're getting ready to travel this guy, and the guy's super weird and just starts talking about hot dogs? He's like, hot dogs get a bad rap.
Like Shyamalan's
that's
The
like
Happening.
That's like the one scene I remember.
Movie,
besides Mark Wahlberg looking at the wind.
No, see,
I think to sum up with these plants,
or the fact that he's a science teacher.
And they're like,
doesn't know it's a plastic plant.
I want to hear Mr. Sir's point.
That's something wrong. Oh, about Golden's weird reference.
No,
point?
You said something you wanted to bring up on the podcast. Was that it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Golden
okay.
has
I'm sorry.
the strangest reference points sometimes, and like there's like it's not an isolated incident, but it was like it was something that I thought of like. During the week, I was listening to the last week's show that I wasn't on, and I was like, or last week's show that I was on. I don't remember what I was listening to, and it just made me fucking. Maybe I was listening to Blank Check. I was listening to something completely different.
So
but it just made me like, man, Golden has like the reference point. He'll say something, and then he'll look at me, and I'm like, I have no fucking idea who you're talking about. What like sometimes I'll remember the movie, but I'll like. I don't know.
It goes beyond that. It gets confusing because he won't even reference a character sometimes by their actual name or their character name in the movie. Like, for example, in the movie Stung, he kept referring to, I can't remember the actor's name now, but he kept referring to him as Romeo, which he was Romeo in a different movie.
Yeah, that's what I do. I mean, but is it any different? Is it any different than when I refer to somebody as Steven whatever because they look a little bit like the other actor?
Well, we have one of those guys.
Steven Dillon.
We have one of those guys. I was going to say Ted Dillon is in this movie.
Steven Dillon.
This movie is full of like, you're like, you see him and you're like, hey, it's that guy. And you even think that when you're watching the movie, the lead guy, you're like, I know really that face, and you're like, oh yeah, because he looks like Matt Dillon.
He's Steven Dillon.
He just looks like Matt. He sort of looks like.
It's so
Matt
funny
Dillon.
that you bring that up.
Casting director.
It's so funny that you bring up.
Yeah, lots of good character actors.
You bring up like my random references things, and then we talk about The Happening because when I watched The Happening with a group of friends for Bad Movie Night, there's a quick scene where they're in the Jeep driving, and you see the driver's eyes in the rearview mirror. And I went, holy shit, that's Dante from Clerks. And everybody's like, that wasn't Dante from Clerks. I go, it's Dante from Clerks. And we looked it up and it was.
Yeah,
and
it was.
To this day, I bring that up all the time to the people that argued with me because I was right this time, not just loud.
Because I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
And it crashes the Jeep.
I almost wore my Clerks shirt.
But yeah, how do you not remember Hot Dog Guy?
Yeah, I know.
Like it's.
I remember. I'm like, rah rah rah.
Because he was like, because he's got that weird face.
You're like, oh yeah, you remember the hot dog guy?
It's like the only scene I remember.
It's the hot dog guy.
The only scene I remember is like the scene where the guy lays down in a lawnmower.
Okay, I remember that. That was awesome. That was actually awesome.
There's cool imagery in that movie. In a movie that is just like. Mark Wahlberg plays a science teacher, and he's like
just not believable.
You can't have Mark Wahlberg play like a guy who he thinks sucks. He's like, this guy's a fucking nerd, and I don't like him.
The guy that plays the hot dog, I can't think of the actor's name, and plays the projectionist in the movie is like if Everybody Loved Raymond's brother and Anton Chekhov, whatever, from Javier Bardem had a kid.
Frank Collison.
That would be their kid.
So would you say he was
if you
like
say so,
Stephen Javier?
I believe you.
Here's my question, Mr. Sir.
Jesus Christ.
In the movie Cabin Fever, do you remember the Pancake Kid?
Yeah.
The hot dog guy is the same thing as the Pancake Kid.
Oh, he's not.
Shoved in there. It doesn't make any sense, and he just rants about some food.
He's not the same.
It's the same idea.
Wearing a mascot outfit. That's as far as the similarities go.
Mascot? What? No. What they talk about food for no reason in the movie. You don't want to know why. Why is the guy talking about hot dogs? He's like, it's a perfect travel food. It's cylindrical. It's like a wiener in my mouth. He didn't say that, but
well, because it's like the dialogue stuff that M. Night Shyamalan has in his movies.
What a
they
twist.
all talk sort of unlike how people act.
Then the twist was that he was actually a hamburger
that's something.
guy.
But that's like
talking about. Golden talked to a director about food and not about making his movie.
That's just because I'm fat.
I'm not saying it's like I like that. Some people say it's like a like a thing that people like deride him for, but I think it's a good style.
Yeah.
It's like his style. Like that's when you're watching an M. Night Shyamalan movie, that's like like when you watch a Tarantino movie, people have like
Feet.
they have that as well.
Always the feet.
I love the effects in this movie.
It was
This
so
movie
good. It
has
was
really great melt scenes.
so many awesome deaths. The effects are
That
great.
actor in the beginning, I can't remember his name, the one that's set up to be like he's the star of the movie based off the Steve McQueen character. They actually put that blob material over him, so it was like he was buried alive. So they had to do really short takes of it, but that's him under that stuff.
Yeah, it looks incredible. It's so cool looking.
And something I just remembered, I tried to
so
watch the
excited.
special features last night, and I fell asleep right away. Put it off to the last minute.
Anthony and I have the Scream Factory.
But one thing I do remember from when I got it, and I never knew this. This is so cool. That phone booth scene where she's trying to call the sheriff or whatever, like gave her the number earlier, and then his head's floating by or whatever.
He's like, he's on his way to the diner, and then you just see
such a good transition.
I love this
the setup
movie.
is great for that. So that's a miniature. That's a doll they used.
Oh, really?
And yeah, they used air.
Like I know it was a doll, obviously, because of how
you can't tell.
No,
so good.
I couldn't tell it was a miniature. Like you watch it, and there's some stuff you're like, I don't know how they did this. Like a lot of the blob effects, I'm like, this is incredible looking. Like it's like this movie does. I'm not gonna say it's a perfect movie or anything, but man, you forgive so much because of how awesome this movie looks. The story, I like the story of it.
The movie doesn't take itself
Shawnee
seriously.
Smith, all-time 80s babe.
Because the movie doesn't take itself seriously, it doesn't give you.
No,
it doesn't make it difficult for you to forgive stuff.
No, it's in the same vein of like those 80s body horror remakes that were coming.
Here's
along.
the thing too.
Like
the DP. Sorry to cut you off. The DP who did this movie, he also did The Fly.
Oh, all right.
Remake,
yeah. That was one, and the other one obviously is John Carpenter's The Thing.
They had such good casting, like of this. Like we were talking about Joe Seneca, the guy that was cast as the doctor. Like you don't see that coming. That he's like the biggest douchebag in the world.
No, he seems like a super nice dude.
He does. He's like,
yeah,
come
perfect
on.
cast.
Like you could see him cast in like
It's like
in one like a wrong
sounds-
turn movie or something where he's the old guy on the porch going, "You shouldn't go
What are
out
you
that
trying
way."
to say?
You know. Like he could be cast as that, so you don't see it coming. Yeah, all of a sudden, like, oh, he's the real monster in this movie.
He looks like a mutant.
What? So what are we, your prisoners? No, you're my patients. Sounds like the same thing.
It does though.
It is, and it is literally the same thing. He made the right choice by getting out of there.
Yeah. Golden, you made a comment that was
made
so
many
off
comments.
base when I rewatched this. So you're talking about how this movie ripped off Nightmare on Elm Street and that whole plot
I wasn't
thread
just saying
with the boyfriend.
Going, you said I wasn't just saying like the good girl falling for the bad boy. It was the fact that shot, like when
The good girl doesn't
when
fall
she's
for
sitting
the
there
bad boy in
and
Nightmare on
she
Elm Street.
sees the cop car pulling away with the guy in it. That's what I'm saying is like it was the fact that he was already like he was pinned for the murder. It was
He
very
has a
very close to-
reputation. And even the
Oh, okay, well, that makes
detective doesn't believe it. Or the sheriff.
Yeah, he's like
Well,
the
he's got
dirtbag
knowledge.
kid and he's like a very easy scapegoat.
Yeah.
And like, what's gonna believe like, oh, this guy had all this acid on him, and then all of a sudden this other guy dies. And like, it just sounds like so.
And in
insane.
Nightmare on Elm Street, the kid's literally in the room when the girl's torn to shreds.
Exactly. They didn't do it as well, but they did it. It's
not the
thing.
same.
Same thing.
No, it's not.
This is the guy
not
that
even
directed
framed.
this movie is
Freddie
Chuck Russell,
frames
who
the kid
did,
in the other one.
Nightmare 3
Yeah, Chuck
Warriors.
Russell, yeah.
Which is my favorite Nightmare
He
movie.
also did Erase.
He's doing the Witchboard remake.
Oh God.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
that's
in
cool.
pre-production on that. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
That is a movie that probably needs a remake.
Yeah. I do enjoy the original.
I liked the comment Mr. Sir sent last night about the American healthcare system. Because of the movie, personally.
The true villain of this
True
movie,
villain.
the government and the U.S. government and the U.S. healthcare system.
But like what we were talking about
He's
earlier,
literally melting, and he can't get a doctor to look at him.
like we were talking about earlier, like throughout history of like movies, you can see like how they change who the bad guys are. Where they're like, you know, like oh we're not gonna do Russians anymore for the bad
Right.
guys and all this stuff,
Those
blah
are
blah
out of-
blah. But 100% the two things you can always have as the bad guys for a movie are Nazis and the U.S. government.
Yeah, or
Always.
just the
And nobody
government
questions
in
it. They're like-
general. The government, the
Yeah.
Nazis are always bad, and the government, so it can always be.
They're like, oh, the
Bad.
bad. I should have known they were the bad guys. They were the government.
Yeah, yep.
Like-
So it ends up being like the meteor isn't or actually a meteor. It was a false flag thing. False flag done by the U.S. government. It was made in a lab. It's biological in every way. You know, it's DNA cut together and pieced together. Now I'm just doing Alex Jones. No, but it was like this.
You are
it
Alex
was
Jones.
like this weaponized bacteria that they put into space to mutate it with like the radiation and just getting like space bacteria or whatever
This is
mixed
the
with it.
prequel to Fantastic Four. They got
What?
shot with the cosmic
Oh,
radiation.
I gotcha. But it's like mutating and changing in ways that they didn't expect it to. It's just eating everything.
Yeah, the
And when I first watched the movie, I wasn't sure if the blob had sentience, but on this rewatch, I was like, yeah, it definitely is
I'd say
alive.
for sure.
It's alive in
It
some
knows
way,
where to go and how to hunt.
right? And it makes like sounds, it screams.
It's very,
and
it's
stuff.
very like crocodiles or alligators. It's just, it's
Yeah, it
not
just
just intelligent. It just
Poor Eddie,
looks to eat. Which one's that?
the kid's friend,
Oh yeah,
Now, does it eat just biological stuff, or does
Yeah.
it eat? Okay,
because it shows the ring floating in it.
right.
the gelatinous blob.
Maybe it slowly dissolves.
It's true. Yeah, it has the guy's class ring is floating in the in the thing. Yeah, the guy getting sucked into the sink.
That was awesome.
Oh my god, that's incredible.
Oh yeah.
It grabs onto his head, pulls him in, and then his whole head gets sucked right down the drain.
Yeah, because it's just corroding it.
Pulls him all the way in there, folds him in half, folds him like laundry, as I like to say, and then just geyser of just gore just shoots out of there, and then the blob makes it. Oh,
And I like
five
the-
bags of popcorn. This movie, I love. This movie rocks. I love it.
I like the scene in the theater where like they do
Yes.
all of a sudden the screen looks like
Right.
it's going because it's going through the
And then
blob
I
and
like
like,
I like
"Ah."
the fake horror movie that they had, the garden
Massacre or something. yeah.
massacre.
it's not hockey season.
Yes, it was just like
Hockey season ended months ago.
the guy's got
Oh.
he's got the hedge trimmers. This is like the lamest
hockey
weapon
mask,
you could
yeah.
possibly have. Not a chainsaw.
I
Hedge.
don't know.
I don't think it's the lamest, but
But
yeah,
it is pretty lame comparatively.
not as
speaking.
menacing for sure.
No,
yeah.
but they obviously did that so they could be like, you think that guy's scary? Check this shit out, and it just have like, oh, you think this movie isn't gonna go there? We'll kill a 10-year-old kid and show him like melting.
yeah.
That was. I forgot
That's
that
what I'm
that
saying,
happened.
poor
I
Eddie.
was like,
Friend.
oh my god, that was. But they have like they don't make him like as like detestable as like a little kid can be in these
Yeah,
movies.
like
But he
Babadook.
is a little shit, and he is like the kind of friend
Yeah,
you
because
don't
he's
want your
making-
kid to have.
Like it's obvious the mom's not gonna go for.
No, he's
going
like
to the movies,
"What are you
and
guys
he's-
gonna go see? And he just like gives
How
up.
realistic is that?
Gives up. I know it is realistic, and you don't want
My
your
friends
friend
would've
to.
let me.
You don't want
Like,
your
dude,
kids. to
shut
be
up.
Yeah, your friend's like, oh, shut the hell up, you little bastard.
It's a gardening movie, but I like the fact that the friend is like giving zero fucking help when his friend is like stuck in that door, and he's like, "Come on, we gotta go." And he's just sitting there watching them try to fight with a zipper.
And she swims down there, and I was like, I couldn't remember. I was like, did she save him? And then she comes up alone, and then he just and that's how they also make the blob like scary and iconic looking. Is they have like the people like floating in it and stuff. You see
Oh,
them
yeah.
like it just like eating them away.
And sometimes they eat them from the inside out too, which is pretty cool.
Which it did to the girl from Under Siege in the car, which is a great scene too. Like as you're watching, he's just like, oh, "I'm just gonna undo your shirt," and then reach in, and then also it's like,
in here.
"Sabla!"
Yeah,
Oh,
the
you're
blob
still
just,
hot?
like wraps itself up his arm, and it's so cool looking.
But I think it's funny because that's the when you watch it on the blacks, that's the thumbnail is actually her
Yeah.
caved in body and him going.
Oh, that's great.
So I was like, "Oh,
Um,
I remember that scene."
Did you want me, before we get to more deeper into it, did you want me to talk about my Blob sequel idea?
Yeah, go for
I
it.
told you sort of about it years ago. So the movie would pick up like just maybe like a couple years later, and it would open in the middle of a blob attack. The next blob, the opening would be like what essentially the blob 2 would be ending. So the preacher guy from the end of the movie has unleashed the blob upon the town again, and the blob is like even bigger now. It's like the size of like a church or whatever. And but this time they're a little more prepared, and they have like anti-blob weapons. They have like freeze guns. Yes, they have like freeze guns and like shields and stuff to like and like like sort of like protective gear to like anti-blob stuff. So they're able to like freeze it, and they have a guy that's like a self-proclaimed blob expert, like a scientist guy, who says if we dump it out into the middle of the ocean in the Antarctic, it will stay at a temperature where it won't, thaw or anything. And we'll be rid of it forever. There won't be anything left. Thing falls down, or I think I'm trying to remember exactly what my pitch was because it comes back to the town. So I think what it is they just chuck it into like the whatever the nearby ocean is, and the bottom of the ocean is like cold enough to where it'll stay in a stasis or whatever. So they do that, they drop it, and then the next thing you see is the thing fall on the ground, like a little like bottom of the ocean kind of fish flies by, like with like the light on its head or whatever.
Anglerfish.
Yeah, an anchorfish, and you see just like a little tentacle snap up and grab it.
I thought this was going for like a global warming, sea rising.
A little bit, yeah. So that is sort of like
monsters.
There is like a little bit of an environmental bent to it. So that's how the movie opens. Like it would open with like, because I'm thinking, because what I want to go with it is like bigger than like what like a tip of, like instead of like how this would be like that. The first one is Alien. This one would be like Aliens. So
blobs.
So I don't have like a ton of like the middle part of the story. So they're at this point they have like a more like anti-blob kind of thing going on in case it comes back, just in case, because they were wrong twice about this thing, and the government made it, so they so they're so you in the movie you keep seeing like the people are building like this thing. You see parts of it coming, usually like a hand, and then like you see like a part of like a chess piece or something. And intercut with that is the blob making its way on the bottom of the ocean, eating all the plant life and everything, but it's also eating like trash and stuff like that has been like fallen. And so the blob is evolving. It's able to eat like matter that isn't biological anymore. So by the time it gets to the they are able to like start seeing like something coming up. It looks like an iceberg or whatever, but it's like the blob. So they can start or like a big shark fin. Like, but by the time it gets there, this thing is kaiju sized. So what do we have to fight a kaiju sized threat? Is a giant blob mech with like ice weapons and stuff. So that's like my idea for like a blob sequel. It's called Blob versus Humanity. So like if this thing takes over the city, it would be able to get like massive enough to potentially take over the planet.
That's awesome.
So like the ending of it is like the thing has like a jetpack. They can fly. They grab it, fly it into space, throw it, and the blob scientist guy that's at the beginning of the movie goes, well, in the deep vacuum of space, it's cold enough. There's no way that it'll be able to survive in the vacuum of space. It's dead. Post-credit scene. You see you see like an alien planet. It's like sunny California. It's like that, but it's not like, it's more like a peaceful planet and everything. It's like a real temperate planet. You get the idea, like just from like context clues looking at it or whatever. You see like an asteroid coming. crashes on it. One of the alien guys looks down in the hole where it lands, and a
Pokes it with
fucking
a stick.
tentacle sticks up, grabs the alien guy.
Got to poke it with a
So
stick.
the next movie would be like the blob has taken over this planet because there's no cold spots. It's just like a completely warm planet. It's taken over, and one of the scientists from the other movie that I pitched has a little sample of the blob and a thing that nobody knows about. And the blob and the thing with the blob is it always needs to reconstitute itself. So then the blob is making its way to Earth and just like snapping up like celestial things as it's going. And what's fueling it is like it's able to sustain itself because there's at the planet's core is keeping it warm enough to have it be alive and like able to like so it's like slowly making its way to Earth
Nice.
that way. And like obviously this is just like something like I thought up when I was like really high at work or whatever or not work but like doing something. I was just like, you know, it'd be a really cool movie if the blob was like way bigger and there was a big robot that fought it.
That would.
I know Anthony isn't as wild about this idea as I am.
Sounds like it'd be a really cool anime though.
Yeah, it'd be like I was thinking like a comic book. It would be like a cool comic book.
Did anybody else know, like, or is it just again me trying to compare it to Nightmare? The Preacher, I got real Freddy Krueger vibes off.
What? Because he gets burnt?
Yeah, pretty much. And I could totally see Robert
I was
Englund
getting like
playing that
I was
role.
getting Loomis in like Halloween Part 6 vibes from his stuff.
Thinking like Donald Pleasance, Prince of Darkness, maybe.
Yeah, Prince of Darkness is the other one.
You know who he reminded me of though was that eunuch dude from the first season of True Detective.
Yes. Yeah. The Yellow King.
No, but the guy that they suspect might be the one behind the killings.
Yes, I got you. Yeah, not the actual
And he works for the
guy,
church.
but,
Then that one thing though, I got
guy who's only watched Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm getting a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street vibes from this movie.
Listen, I do. But I was like, it was the whole scene. Like once he drives his motorcycle into the sewer.
Hold on. This isn't the first episode of this show within the past month that you have said has had Nightmare on Elm Street vibes.
It does. Well, stop suggesting Nightmare on Elm Street vibe movies. I don't know what to tell you. But like in the movie when he like when he
it's on the 80s.
Watch it quiet on. He's like, man, it's giving me a lot of giving me a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street
that
vibes.
movie killed me internally. It killed my soul.
It's so good.
When he drives,
that movie reawoken something in me. I'm actually like
died.
starting to watch Japanese cinema now from that time period because I love that movie so much.
Couldn't.
You know what? When I saw it, when I first started it, my initial reaction was, God damn it, this movie is 3 hours long. However, once it got going, once it got past the credit part, I mean, all the segments like fucking go. I did not feel bored at all.
When the character says, I'm bored to death, I was like, same.
See, that's what I'm talking about with the Venn diagram.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What were you saying?
Way off on that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted your point.
It's okay. No, I was saying like when he drove his motorcycle into the sewer, there was like so many things that were happening, like because of course you see him go up over the thing, and I was like, oh, you knew it was gonna happen, obviously, because it's like, oh, that's how motorcycles work in the sewer. There's always a giant sewer pipe that's big enough to do that in and hide in. But then when he uses the AT-4, like the shoulder rocket launcher, nobody is firing an AT-4 like this. First of all.
My Punisher action figure does when I have him posed.
Yeah.
Sorry, no real people.
The Punisher can.
Like that would have been the end of
Castle.
the end of our hero in the movie when he fired that thing in a closed off sewer. He would have been dead. He would have completely.
I can't argue that.
It was movie real though.
Was that?
It was movie real though.
No.
Yeah, it was.
That was
I don't know if
I'd
you
buy
knew
it.
this, Golden, but this movie also had a blob in it. That
What?
ate people.
That was realistic. That was realistic. Like I said,
8 cats.
come look at me when I'm in the kitchen
Rats.
drunk, because I'll do the same thing. Like, what's this? A handful of fucking shredded cheese? Done.
Like Paul Rudd in This Is 40. You see the cupcake in the sink that has ketchup on it. That Leslie Mann also ran the water on as well. Just
I mean, I get very hungry when I'm drunk. It's weird.
it's not weird. I think that's a
It
universally.
probably is, yeah. Like, I'm gonna eat the most random garbage too. Like I'm just like, this goes together. The one time I spread
Key
cheese
to a
spread on the
successful
pork rind.
bar is good food. Customers will stay 40% longer if you got good food there. This food is garbage. Shut it down. You're gonna get people sick.
Bar rescue.
Yeah,
Those
it's
that
my
don't
John
know
Taffer
those
impression.
All right, well, we are getting close there on time.
Speaking of sick, people are getting sick of looking at us. So, Anthony, what do you have any final thoughts on the Blob? I know we kind of bounced all over the place. Like we touched on.
Yeah, we barely touched on it.
We touched on it plenty. Touchy
I
touch.
love this movie. It's really good. It's not streaming anywhere, unfortunately,
No.
but Screen Factory has a great Blu-ray of it.
And you can buy the
Yeah, you can rent
Blu-ray
it.
definitions on Vudu and stuff.
Well, I think you can pay to rent it too. Like it's on.
Yeah,
Amazon for like
it's just not
$3.99, but it's
streaming
just
through
not
any
free.
subscription service, at least not that I'm aware of.
I think it's like it's really good. It's an '80s horror movie. Like there's no getting around that. But it did really good. It
What
still
does that
holds
mean?
up. Like you definitely can tell it was made and set in the '80s. Like there's themes that are just
Yeah,
very
like there's
80s.
like an
Did
aesthetic
kids
to
act
80s.
like that in the 80s?
Yes.
80s movies,
you're an
80s
adult and you
horror
have that
movies
adult
do
vision.
have like an aesthetic to them, to where just stuff just I don't know. It just has it has a feel to it, and this movie definitely like captures that, and like this era of horror movies. If you have like any kind of budget behind it, the effects are gonna look awesome. And this movie put all the money into the effects, and like this movie like made the biggest name people in it are Kevin Dillon and Shawnee Smith. Shawnee Smith, I mean, at the time, like she was still like a fairly new actress, major babe.
It was before she
obviously.
was in Saw. Yeah.
Before she saw her Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza
Chuck Russell
Place.
wanted to use CGI for this movie. He was unable to. Actually, he was able to make the Blob remake because of Bob Shea. Since he directed Nightmare on Elm Street 3, he was able to get his
Nightmare on Elm
Blob
Street
movie made.
It holds up though too. Like
This movie holds up incredibly.
there are a lot of '80s horror movies that, with nostalgia wise, I'll tell you, man, how much I loved. And then if I rewatch them now, I'm just like, oh god.
Yeah,
Second
there's really no like
Oh, man.
racist
No,
stuff.
we're
There's
just bumming out
no
on that.
like homophobic stuff, really, other than like I couldn't really think of anything that stuck out to me.
Oh, I
But there's
forgot
like
she was
this
in
movie's
Miami
fun. It has it's really gory too. It has, and it's got inventive gore and kills in it
It
too.
does.
It's really, I love this movie. I'm interested in seeing what you guys
Did you get
rate it.
What about Anthony's already gonna see. So you know the movie Deep Blue Sea,
Yes.
the scene where Samuel L. Jackson's yelling and then the shark comes up and gets him.
Yeah. Iconic.
That was already done in the Blob, because when the dude's fucking yelling about all the stuff and then the Blob comes up through the thing and just takes him. I'm just saying, this time it was the predecessor, not the other movie that I'm going to talk about. Well, I'm not going to talk about Deep Blue Sea, but you know.
Yeah, they were trying to cure Alzheimer's, and that's how the Blob came about.
Pretty much.
That was
That
the
was the
exact
jet in it.
plot to Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Well, that's what they were trying to do in Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
Yeah,
that's why the
they
shark
made
got
the
Rise of the
intelligent.
Planet of the Apes. That's what the thing was. The medicine that turned Caesar into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it-
John
John Lithgow was
Lithgow.
suffering from it. Yeah.
Oh, walking
His
around
character
all
was.
crazy Link, and James Franco just being James Franco.
Golden's
giving
Golden's
it
waiting
0.
for the joke
There's no joke.
because we're bringing up Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
He's old. He's just like looking.
It's like it's happening.
When's it
It's gonna
coming?
happen.
When's it coming?
Oh, he didn't hear
We are-
anything else I said. He heard that. He's like, they're talking about me.
Yeah. When-
Which makes me
He's
listen
like-
more
he's like,
carefully.
shit. He's like, they said something and I can't remember because,
Because the Alzheimer's.
yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, watch this movie if you haven't already seen it, and if you
Classic.
have
I love
already
it.
seen it, but you only saw it like back when it came out, watch it again. It holds up.
Deserves a rewatch for
It
sure.
definitely holds up.
What are you giving this?
Yeah, 4.
4?
I'll give it a 4.13. Yes, there it is.
I'm giving it a 5. 5, perfect movie, love it. I even the stuff that like the faults that I can find with it are like whatever. Like you can find those things in like the problems with it are in like prevalent in like 80s movies in general. Like this movie just has like the kills. You come to see the Blob, and the Blob is the star of the movie for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And it looks great at the end when it's big. It's so awesome. But it like when it's smaller and it's like killing people and like hunting them, that stuff looks so awesome.
I mean, some of the stop motion effects are obvious, but
yeah, like when it's green screen and they're like in front of the Blob, you can tell that
Yeah,
you know
they
didn't quite have that technology down.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was the one scene where like
they just layered
Stephen
film
Dillon
together.
is in front of like and you can definitely tell that it was green screen because it's got
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
halo.
That's the part that I was
But
thinking of.
other than that, yeah, it's still
like
solid.
when they're on when the Blob is physically present with another person in the screen, when it's a physical thing touching them or they're next to it, it looks great. It was so awesome. Yeah, Rob Zombie. Like I don't think that movie's gonna happen. Like Rob Zombie was going to direct a remake of it with Samuel L. Jackson. I'm assuming
in the trailer park.
They'd probably go like to the backstory of why the Blob kills and like they.
Oh, he did it with one movie.
I'm just like messing with you. Calm
messed up childhood.
Yeah, where he always wore.
I
love stinks.
As much as I
love stinks.
As much as I love defending Rob Zombie's horror film or Halloween films, that backstory is awful.
It's lame.
It's just unnecessary. It's not awful. It's just unnecessary.
So I think we're all in agreement then. We watch the Blob.
Oh yeah, watch the Blob, or it'll watch you.
What else you should watch is us next week and every week after.
Yeah, and Golden
check us out live on
review is
Facebook.
getting listed as a 4.
4.13.
And if you like what you see, check us out on Patreon.
Yeah, that's a good one to mention.
Or Dork on Patreon. And
if you want to support the show,
yes,
for sure.
So,
I'm Mr. Sir.
I'm Anthony.
And I'm Golden, the bald bearded guy.
This is Horror Dork. Slime balls.
Pop, 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 pop. We're about to.
There we go. Like the Blob sequel. Unwanted, but it's here.
Son of Blob.